Hey, Grace Seeker, can I tell you something? Sometimes the most powerful sermon you'll ever preach isn't with words, it's how you live. The way you handle stress, the way you forgive, the way you treat people who can't give you anything in return. People are always watching, not in a judgmental way, but in a searching way. They're looking for something real. And when you live with God's peace, grace, and strength, even quietly, His light shines through you in ways you may never even realize. But here's the hard part. What do you do when you're supposed to be the light, but you feel like you're drowning in darkness? When you don't feel peaceful or graceful or strong? When you feel like you failed the people who matter most? That's what we're talking about today because, well, I've been there. I'm actually there in some ways now. And I'm learning that even when your light feels dim, God still shines through you. So first, welcome to Graceful Growth in Midlife. I'm Teresa. And if you're new here, this podcast is where we navigate cultural chaos and personal struggles with biblical clarity and grace. We're figuring this out together. Before we dive in, if you haven't grabbed my free guide yet, The Season of Light, Finding Peace, Purpose, and Renewal in God's Presence, you can get it at thegracefulgrowth.com. It's designed to help you prepare your heart for this December. All right, let's get into this. So let's start here with what God calls us to be. Matthew 5, verse 14 and 16 says this: "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Notice Jesus didn't say, try to be the light. He said, you are the light. Wherever you go, work, home, the grocery store, you carry God's presence with you. People may never read the Bible, but they'll read you. And here's the thing. It's always been my mission to be the light, especially for my kids. I wanted them to see Jesus in me. I wanted them to know God the way I knew Him. I wanted to be the example that drew them closer to Him, not through preaching at them, but through how I lived. But Grace Seeker, I failed at that. And that failure is my deepest regret. Let me back up and explain. My mom laid the foundation for me. She showed me how God works. She showed me how to believe. And I give her all the credit for my relationship with God today. It kept me grounded, protected, and mostly on the right path. But here's what happened. My family fell into the prosperity gospel form of Christianity. And in my gut, I knew it was wrong. I just knew it was wrong. And it pushed me away from the church. Sadly, it also pushed me away from making God the focus in our home as my kids grew up. Sure, I continued my own walk with God, and I tried in very subtle ways to share it with my kids, but something in me couldn't be preachy or drill it into their heads like my mom did to me. I think before I realized how valuable her setting the foundation was, I resented the ongoing pressure campaign. Does that make sense? So my life always included God, but for the most part, it was in my own personal circle. I didn't make Him the priority in their lives. And today, that's my deepest regret. Because I know what a foundation of Christ can do. I know how it protects you, guides you, and keeps you anchored when life gets chaotic. And I didn't give that to my kids the way my mom gave it to me. So what if the way you respond to difficulty is the first glimpse of Jesus someone sees? What if your life, not your words, but your life, is the quiet sermon that leads someone to Him? And what if you feel like you've already failed at that? Stay with me, because that's where this gets real. Let me tell you about a time when my light was shining. About 15 years ago, I went through a similar walk as I am now. Honestly, it was painful, really painful. But boy, when I got out on the other side, I was a completely different person. I found myself through His eyes. I had true joy. I was completely at peace, and I was at a very pivotal point in my life. I was making huge life changes, but the journey to get to those big decisions led me to them with confidence and a deep knowing that I was being led, that I was making the right choices. And here's what happened. I became someone who others were drawn to. My light was shining. People noticed, not because I was preaching at them, but because there was something different about me, a peace, a joy, a strength that didn't come from me, it came from Him. 2 Corinthians 3:18 says, "And we all, who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory, are being transformed into His image with ever-increasing glory." That's what was happening. I was being transformed, and people could see it. But here's the hard part. My light was shining until it wasn't. Life happened, pain happened, disappointment happened, anger happened, and somewhere along the way, that light started to dim. Not because God left me, but because I stopped staying close to Him. I stopped reflecting His light because I wasn't staying in His presence. Think of it this way. The moon doesn't generate light, it reflects the sun. Likewise, we don't produce holiness. We reflect God's character the closer we stay to Him. When life gets dark, people notice the ones who glow differently, not because of perfection, but because of peace. But what happens when you're not staying close to Him? When you're angry, bitter, and consumed by the chaos around you? Your light dims, not because God's light changed, but because you're not reflecting it anymore. And Grace Seeker, that's where I've been. That's where I am in some ways. Have you ever felt like your light used to shine brighter? Like you used to have that peace, that joy, that something people were drawn to, but now it feels dim? Comment below. Let me know. So let's talk about when it's hard to shine. Because being the example isn't easy when people test your patience, you're mistreated or misunderstood, the world around you grows darker, you're carrying regret, anger, or bitterness, and you feel like you've already failed. But here's what I'm learning. That's when light matters most. Philippians 2:14 and 15 says, "Do everything without grumbling or arguing. Then you will shine among them like stars in the sky." The contrast between light and dark is what makes your witness visible. When everyone around you is panicking and you're peaceful, that stands out. When everyone's bitter and you're gracious, that stands out. When everyone's angry and you're forgiving, that stands out. But what if you don't feel peaceful, gracious, or forgiving? What if you're the one who's bitter, angry, and struggling? Here's what I want you to know. God's light doesn't shine through perfection. It shines through cracks. I've had days, honestly, weeks or months, where I definitely didn't feel like the light. I felt drained, tired, angry, and unseen. But back then, 15 years ago, when I was in that transformed place, that's when people would say things like, "There's something peaceful about you." And I'd realize, it's not me, it's Him. That's what happens when you're close to the source, when you're staying in His presence. The light just shines. But right now, I'm not there yet. I'm in the process of getting back there, and that's okay, because God meets me in the process. 2 Corinthians 4 verse 7 says, "We have this treasure in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us." We are jars of clay, cracked, broken, and imperfect. But the treasure inside us, that's God, and His light shines best through the cracks, not through polish. So if you're feeling broken right now, if you're feeling like you failed, if your light feels dim, you're exactly where God can shine through you the most powerfully. Because people don't need to see your perfection, they need to see His grace meeting you in your mess. That's what draws people to Jesus, Not your having it all together, but your honesty about not having it all together and trusting Him anyway. So, what's one area where you feel like your light is dim right now? Drop a comment below and let me know. Okay, so here's where I'm learning. And it's something I have to remind myself of every single day. I am not the source of the light. I am the reflection. That takes so much pressure off. Because if I'm the source, then it's all on me. My performance, my perfection, my ability to keep it together. But if I'm the reflection, then all I have to do is stay close to the source. When the moon moves away from the sun, it goes dark. Not because the sun stops shining, but because the moon isn't positioned to reflect it anymore. Same with us. When we move away from God, when we let anger, bitterness, busyness, or pain pull us away, our light dims. Not because God's light changed, but because we aren't positioned to reflect it anymore. So the question isn't, how do I shine brighter? The question is, am I staying close to Him? And here's the beautiful part. Even when you feel like you've drifted far away, like I did, God is calling you back. He's not angry. He's not disappointed. He's whispering, come closer. Let me restore your light. That's what He's been doing with me over this last year, calling me back, stripping away the distractions, showing me where I let anger and bitterness take root, healing me, restoring me. And slowly my light is starting to shine again, not because I got it all figured out, but because I'm staying close to Him again. And Grace Seeker, if you feel like your light is dimmed, if you feel like you used to be closer to God but you've drifted, He's calling you back too. Not with condemnation, but with tenderness. Hosea 2:14 says, I will lead her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. He's leading you into the quiet, into the wilderness, so He can restore you, so your light can shine again. Are you feeling that call right now? That gentle pull back to Him? Let me know in the comments. All right, so let's get practical. Because it's one thing to talk about being the light, and it's another thing to actually live it out. Especially when you're struggling, when you're tired, and when you feel like you've just already failed. So here are some ways God's been teaching me to let His light shine, even when I don't feel like I'm shining at all. Number 1, respond with grace when others expect anger. This is hard, especially when you've been hurt, when you've been wronged, when you have every right to be angry. But grace surprises people. Grace stops arguments in their tracks. Grace reflects Jesus in a way anger never can. It doesn't mean you're a doormat. It means you're choosing to reflect His character, not your emotions. I'm still learning this. I still fail at this, but I'm getting better. And when I do respond with grace instead of anger, I see it shift the atmosphere. I see people soften. I see God working. Number 2, speak peace, not panic. In ancient times, a calm spirit stands out way more than loud opinions. Everyone's freaking out about politics, the economy, the state of the world, and yes, there's real stuff to be concerned about. But as Christians, we're called to be anchored, to speak peace, and to trust God's sovereignty even when everything feels chaotic. That doesn't mean we ignore reality. It means we respond to reality with faith, not fear. When people see you peaceful in the middle of chaos, they notice, and they start to wonder, what do they have that I don't? And the answer is Jesus. Number 3, serve quietly. You don't have to announce good deeds. God sees what's done in secret. Matthew 6, verse 1 through 4 talks about not practicing righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. In other words, don't serve for applause. Serve because you're reflecting Jesus. Some of the most powerful light-shining moments happen in the quiet. in the small acts of kindness no one sees, in the grace extended when no one's watching. That's when you know it's real. When you know it's not performance, it's just overflow. Number 4, be consistent. This is the one that gets me because I'm not always consistent. But here's the thing, the small everyday faithfulness is what builds trust and reveals Jesus most clearly. People don't just notice the big moments, they notice how you live day in and day out. Are you the same person on Sunday as you were on Tuesday? Are you kind to the cashier at the grocery store? Are you patient with your family when no one else is around? That's where the light shines, in the consistency, in the daily choices. And Grace Seeker, I'm not saying you have to be perfect. I'm saying you have to be present, to keep showing up, to keep choosing Him even when it's hard. So which of these is hardest for you right now? Grace when you want anger? Peace when you feel panic? Serving quietly? Being consistent? Let me know in the comments. It'd be awesome to talk about it. All right, so here's the last thing I want to say. What do you do when you don't feel like the example? When you feel like you've already blown it? When you're looking at the people in your life, your kids, your family, your friends, and thinking, I've already failed them. My light's already gone out. Grace Seeker, God's light shines through weakness. 2 Corinthians 4 verse 7 says it again. We have this treasure in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to stay open. God's strength shines best through cracks, not polish. So if you feel cracked right now, if you feel broken, if you feel like you failed, you're exactly where God can shine through you. There's a quote often attributed to St. Francis of Assisi. Preach the gospel at all times, when necessary, use words. Ooh, powerful. Your life is a sermon. Your response to pain, to failure, to disappointment, that's the gospel being lived out. And Grace Seeker, people are watching, not to judge you, but because they're searching. And when they see you trust God in the middle of your mess, when they see you extend grace when your heart's been hurt, when they see you stay faithful even when it's hard, they see Jesus. So don't give up. Don't think it's too late. Don't believe that lie that you've already failed beyond repair. God's not done with you. He's still shining through you, even when you can't see it. So here's how this all connects. Last week, we talked about preparing your heart, not just your house, for December. About letting God strip away the distractions, the anger, the bitterness, about getting back to the source. And this week, we're talking about being the light. Because here's the truth, you can't shine if your heart isn't prepared. You can't reflect His light if you're not staying close to Him. That's why this December matters, not just for Christmas, but for what's coming in the new year. God's doing something. I can feel it. He's calling us, calling me, calling you, and into a gentle transformation, a stepping into the light. And it starts here, in December, with preparing our hearts, with choosing to stay close to Him even when it's hard, with letting Him restore our light so we can shine again. Because in a few weeks, we're going to talk about what Christmas is truly about. Not the decorations, not the gifts, but the light that came into the world. And then, as we step into 2026, I'm going to invite you into something, a journey, a 21-day journey to build unshakable faith together. But it all starts here with your heart, with your light, with choosing to stay close to Him. So don't skip this step. Don't rush past it. Let God do the work in you this December. Let Him prepare your heart. Let Him restore your light. Because the world needs it, your family needs it, and you need it. So here's what I want you to do this week. Ask God to show you one area of your life where your light could shine a little brighter. Maybe it's patience, maybe it's forgiveness, maybe it's faith under pressure. Just one area, not 10, not everything, just one. And then pray this very simple prayer. Lord, help me reflect your light in my attitude, my words, and my actions. Let someone see you through me this week. And then watch, pay attention, because God will give you opportunities. And when He does, you get to choose. Will you respond with anger or grace? Panic or peace? Selfishness or service? Your light shines in those moments. Grace Seeker, the world doesn't need more noise, it needs light. And the beautiful thing is, God already placed that light inside you. So don't hide it, don't dim it, let it shine. Even if no one says thank you, even if no one notices, your life might be the quiet miracle someone else has been praying for. Here's what I'd love for you to do this week. First, if you haven't already, download my free Season of Light guide at thegracefulgrowth.com. It'll help you stay close to Him this December. Second, leave me a comment. Where do you feel like your light is dim right now? What's one area God's asking you to let Him shine through? I'd love to hear from you. And third, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's struggling to be the light right now. Let them know they're not alone. Next week, we're diving into the gentle transformation ahead, stepping into the light of 2026. It's a bridge episode leading us into something new, something I'm really excited to share with you. Until then, stay close to Him, let His light shine through you, and remember, you're not alone in this. We're navigating the messy middle together. Grace and peace, Grace Seeker. I'll talk to you soon. God bless.